Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. From the Washington Free Beacon, a new Iranian-backed terror group, Harakat al-Sabirin, is making inroads in Gaza and the West Bank and is bragging about plots to wage jihad against Israel. Al-Sabirin in Gaza is believed to receive $10 million a year from Iran, according to reports in the Arab press. Al-Sabirin says it has established an armed wing with militants in Jerusalem and the West Bank. Like Hezbollah, Al-Sabirin's logo closely resembles that of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The group's charter condones violent jihad and promotes attacks on, quote, the racist Zionist body, close quote, and, quote, America, the great Satan, close quote. From Ynet News, the warning signs have been clear to Israel for several months now. Israel believes Hamas has completed basic preparations for delivering a surprise attack that will penetrate into Israel simultaneously via a number of points, from the air, sea, and tunnels accompanied by mortar fire, and a massive blitz of rockets. Booby-trapped tunnels penetrating inside Israel have apparently been newly dug, including several openings for each tunnel. Hamas special forces and divers continue their intensive training, their UAV strength has been rebuilt, and their rocket arsenal has been partially restocked. Hamas has instructed its people in the West Bank to once again carry out terrorist attacks inside the Green Line. And money has begun pouring into those terror cells as Hamas, led by Mohammed Daif, is changing direction and raising the stakes against Israel. And from the Times of Israel, last Wednesday, the Israel Defense Forces concluded a major 2-week drill on Israel's northern border, simulating concurrent wars on the Lebanese and Syrian fronts. Now, last week, on Wednesday, I put out my quit smoking video, and I'm so happy I did this, my friends. Elohim even sent some of my own family members to me. A niece I haven't seen in a few years suddenly visited me. And my cousin Kenny, who I also haven't seen in a few years. Kenny and I are the same age, and we spent much time together throughout our lives. Well, he phoned me out of the blue, and both of them have the same story that I outlined in my video. But I just thought it was interesting that it seems like Elohim sent them to me, a day or two after I completed this video. But like I said, they're experiencing the same problem. People want to quit smoking cigarettes, but the e-cigs don't work, and they return to cigarettes very quickly, just like my niece and my cousin did. Then they try again, but this time with a mod setup, and those Fruity Loops flavors, combined with the poor quality pesticide nicotine, just causes them once again to return to cigarettes. But now, I believe the naturally extracted tobacco liquid is going to make all the difference, and many will quit smoking cigarettes. My cousin, Kenny, has serious problems with his lungs. And he can't put the cigarettes down. I mean, he can't even enjoy them. He'll light one up, take one drag, and then start coughing terribly and put it out. And 20 minutes later, he'll repeat it. And, he's just worsening his lung condition, where he ordered a bottle of the Black Note e-liquids with me, and if he switches to that day, his body will start healing itself. Now, granted, things may be beyond repair, but even so, his personal experience will improve, period. I mean, no matter what, his experience will improve, and he'll stop worsening it hour by hour. Now, if you haven't watched that video, you'll see this graphic at the end of this video, as well as a text link below today's newscast in the More Info section. Click on that. You can go check it out. If you know anybody that wants to quit, this is an easy answer. Now, did you know that you, personally, you have a treasure chest in the Shamayim, in the heavens, that is waiting for you? It's true. Have you ever considered what might be waiting for you inside your personal treasure chest? And did you ever consider that yours might be empty? Are there things that perhaps you might have taken the time to put in that strong box, but failed to do so? Now is the time for you to think about putting things in your own personal treasure chest. Now, today, because now is the only time you get to store things in that box. Things that will be yours, things that will be your rewards forever and ever and ever, for all of eternity. If you haven't seen last Thursday's word study, you'll see this graphic at the end of today's newscast, and also a text link in the More Info section beneath this video. Click on it, check it out. Turning to wars and rumors of wars. From the Military Times, a small team of U.S. troops is setting up a base camp at an air base in the Kurdish region of northeastern Syria near the Iraqi and Turkish borders. American helicopters have been operating at the base over the past couple of weeks as local workers expanded the runway. Control of the airfield will help U.S. troops expedite delivery of weapons and ammunition to the region, as well as operate more aircraft, like medevac helicopters, armed or intelligence drones, surveillance equipment, and reconnaissance platforms. On Tuesday, January 19th, American warplanes struck 9 depots where ISIS is believed to have stashed tens of millions of dollars in cash. From Israel Hayom, Hamas leader in Gaza, Ismail Haniyeh, declared that the motive driving the recent wave of Palestinian terrorism was the desire to wage an all-out war against Israel, saying, quote, "This Intifada is not the result of despair. This Intifada is a jihad, a holy war fought by the Palestinian people against the Zionist occupation," close quote. On Friday, January 22nd, from the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, Syrian government forces edged closer to a key rebel town in the coastal province of Latakia, backed by Russian airstrikes and military advisors. Soldiers and pro-government fighters advanced to around 5 kilometers, that's like 3 miles, from the town of Rabia. Rabia is a major stronghold for rebel forces in the north of Latakia, which is otherwise largely government-held and a bastion of support for President Bashar Assad. If the regime retakes Rabia, it will be able to secure the northern part of Latakia province. Then on Saturday, January 23rd, from ARA News, ISIS attacked the Peshmerga headquarters southeast of Mosul using car bombs and mortar shells. At least 20 fighters from ISIS were killed and more than 25 others were wounded near Mosul city in Iraq's northwestern province of Nineveh. And on Monday, January 25th, from Haaretz, Israeli jets struck a Hamas-affiliated target inside the Gaza Strip early on Monday morning in retaliation for a rocket fired at Israel on Sunday evening. The rocket was fired at Israel's southern communities near the border with Gaza, exploding in an open area. No damage or injuries were caused. Now turning to our Intifada update, on Tuesday, January 19th, from the Times of Israel and Ynet News, Israeli security forces captured 15-year-old Morad Adais, the Palestinian who murdered Daphna Meir last week in a terror attack at her home in front of her children. Residents of the village told security forces of his presence there, and he was arrested just 3 kilometers from the scene of the attack. On the day of the murder, while under the influence of the programs he had been exposed to on Palestinian television, the 15-year-old decided to commit a stabbing attack with the goal of murdering a Jew, revealing once again the severity of threats of wild incitement against Israel and the Jews through Palestinian media. On Wednesday, January 20th, from Ynet News, Israel's security services foiled a terror shooting planned by a cell in the Tulkarm area led by Mahmoud Jalul, who was recruited by Jawad Nasrallah, son of Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah. Hezbollah transferred $5,000 to the cell to commit the attack and is working diligently to take advantage of the Palestinian population to seduce its young people into carrying out attacks in return for money. Then on Friday, January 22nd, from the Jerusalem Post, Israeli security forces arrested 2 members of a terrorist cell from Donaby near Tulkarem, who shot and injured an IDF soldier last Wednesday on January 20th. A third 32-year-old Palestinian was arrested, a member of the PA's General Intelligence Service, who was accused of aiding the gunmen under the attack and hiding the firearm they used. On Saturday, January 23rd, from the Jerusalem Post, a Palestinian terrorist was killed by his own bomb, which exploded prematurely as he approached a security outpost near Abu Dis, next to Jerusalem. Then on Sunday, January 24th, an Israeli man in his 50s came under fire on Sunday night, and his car was struck by at least 1 bullet while driving in the West Bank. The man was treated for shock by paramedics. Now turning to our review of last week's news. A new Iranian-backed terror group is making inroads in Gaza and the West Bank, getting ready to wage jihad against Israel. Hamas has completed basic preparations for delivering a surprise attack against Israel simultaneously from the air, the sea, and through tunnels. A team of U.S. troops is setting up a base in northeastern Syria. American warplanes struck 9 depots where ISIS had stashed tens of millions of dollars. The Hamas leader in Gaza declared, "This Intifada is a jihad, a holy war against Israel." Syrian government forces edged closer to a key rebel town in the coastal province of Latakia. ISIS attacked the Peshmerga headquarters southeast of Mosul. Israel jets struck a Hamas-affiliated target inside the Gaza Strip. Israeli security forces captured 15-year-old Morad Adais, the Palestinian who murdered Daphne Meir in front of her children last week. Israel's security services foiled a terror shooting planned by a cell in the Tulkarm area. Israeli security forces arrested 2 members of a terrorist cell from Danabeh. A Palestinian terrorist was killed by his own bomb, and an Israeli man in his 50s came under fire, and his car was struck by at least 1 bullet while driving in the West Bank. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, stay safe. Shalom.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath the naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.